Welcome back to Haunted by Tapes with the Frog Brothers Podcast.
Welcome back to Haunted by Tapes.
Haunted by Tapes with the Frog Brothers Podcast.
We're talking Halloween 2018.
Halloween 2018.
In continuity, only a sequel to Halloween 1978.
What? You mean they ignored all those other ones? Yes, they did. They certainly did. And that's quite all right, because this is the Michael Myers extended universe.
Danny McBride was a co-writer on this. Mm-hmm. Directed by David Gordon Green, who directed Pineapple Express.
You know, one of my favorite notes about this movie is that Nick Castle, who played the original Michael Myers, came back to do the ADR and did one scene as Michael.
Nick Asshole?
Castle.
I know, I'm just being an asshole.
Astle? Castle. But he was so iconic doing that creepy breathing to bring him back was right.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense.
He didn't do like a bunch of it, but he did some.
Yeah.
Like they had a couple different people, but it's still cool just they had him come back and do some cool shots for it.
Yeah. A little involvement there.
This one is pretty interesting because a lot of people are into podcasts and true crime podcasts. And really, true crime podcasts are listened to by a lot of women, I find. Not to say that there's any bad things about that. I just think that that's more of their audience.
I think there's a fascination, and it's not trying to generalize anything, but I think there is a huge, like, our mother is a huge fan of true crime stuff.
She always watched it. It always creeped me out as a kid.
She'd read books about stuff. She'd watch TV shows about it. So if she listened to podcasts, I'm sure she wouldn't listen to us, but she'd listen to that.
Yeah.
Well, she's been on our show.
If you want to attract women, put on your dating profile online that you watch true crime shows and podcasts, and you're obsessed with true crime.
Or you host a true crime podcast.
Yeah. You'll be drowning in bitches. But there's some true crime podcasters, Aaron Coney?
Yep.
I don't know whatever.
Aaron Corey,
that's it. And
Dana Haynes. Yep.
So they're visiting a hospital, and they're doing a true crime podcast on Michael Myers.
Yep, and you see them meet Dr. Sartain, who basically explains to them that he is the protege or studied under Dr. Loomis because RIP.
Yeah. He's an interesting replacement for now. We'll get to some notes about him later that I'm just like, but...
Initially, you felt some vibes similar to Loomis to some degree, just kind of getting that, and you felt him channeling that energy later on.
Fine.
It kind of pissed me off, but we'll get there.
Yeah. So they kind of walk out on this weird outdoor chessboard-looking shit.
It's a chessboard, but there's a bunch of patients,
and they're not allowed to leave their square. They're like chained up.
They're fucking chained up to a yellow square on this checkerboard. So I don't know what
it's a little weird and unrealistic, I think.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of a mental hospital would actually have that, because I think that would be very stressful for people. And if you really do have a mental issue, I don't think that would bode well. I think it just looked cool, so maybe that's what they envisioned. I don't know.
I think.
I'd have no
That's
idea.
another one of those things. I feel like I'm watching Alice in Wonderland or some shit.
And I wonder, was that scripted that way, or is that just something that like the people on set presented that way, right?
Either way.
Was it written into that
He
detail
presents
or not?
the mask, and he's like, "You feel it, don't you?"
I have something from the district attorney's office you might want to see.
Yeah, everybody is freaking out. All the other crazy people.
Yeah,
They start losing their shit for some reason. The mask is triggering them. Because I guess they're implying because of Michael's reaction, they can tell that he's having some sort of emotional reaction to it.
Yeah.
And I do think it's very interesting the way he finally yells, "Say something!" and then it cuts to the credits and shit. Mm-hmm. I love that. That was kind of cool. And the rotting pumpkin coming back to life.
Yes, the reverse of that
fucking
was
great
amazing.
Credit opening sequence. Like, they had me when I first saw this. I was like I didn't have a problem with the checkerboard thing then. Now, like, I'm on my fourth watch of this, I want to say, and I'm like, there's some things about this that make me cringe a little bit, but I still overall.
First viewing, I really
time.
enjoyed it just because I was taking it all in, right? And then after that, you start scrutinizing more, right?
Yeah.
You start to nitpick things, and
So they go and they're trying to interview Laurie Strode now. Mm-hmm. This is relatable shit.
And they hand, let's see, Dana hands Aaron an envelope, a pink envelope, and he looks inside and it just fucking stacks hundreds.
Yeah, and he's like, "We don't pay for interviews," and she's like, "Bitch, we're about to."
Yeah. And so you see Laurie lives outside this nice fortified place. She's got a remote-controlled gate with a voice box on it. So.
I will say one thing real quick. This movie, ignoring the continuity of everything else that she's been in, I understand that she was killed in one of the movies, but still, 2 of them, something like that.
Yeah.
It puts her struggle at a questionable place. And by that I mean, do you know how many people have been involved in attempted murders and lived lives that aren't this life? I mean, it's I get it's a movie and it's a story, and it could happen in that sense, but also it seems like she could have just gotten over it, got therapy. Not even gotten therapy and gotten over it.
Yeah, I mean, they really play up the PTSD.
It's like fucking Terminator.
Yes.
Which makes sense because that's robots from the future. You saw some shit that was not of this plane. So that's way more different, I think. And you knew something else was coming. This is, it doesn't work as well for me.
It's like Terminator 2, right? Because you get all that, like, you get this, like, woman that's, like, fucking battle-hardened and ready, and you're like, wait, where does that come from? And like,
yeah, but she has no reason to be ready.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like, she waited 40 years for this, whatever, you know? I mean, they're kind of basically playing it, like, in real time, so 78 to 2018.
They tried to, they tried to make her the monster in this, to some extent.
Yes.
Which, you know, whatever. We'll talk about some of that shit as it comes, but...
But then they fucking immediately kick her when she's down, right? When they first meet her.
Yeah, they're talking all sorts of shit like, oh, yeah.
2 failed marriages, an estranged child. You've been charged as being an unfit mother and had your child taken away by Child Protective Services. Mm-hmm. And they're like, how do you feel about that? And
she's like, eat my ass, get out of my house, give me my money.
Yeah, but basically they're like, you know, we really want you to sit down and talk to Michael Myers because he won't talk to anybody else. We want him to talk to you. And she looks at him like, are you out of your fucking mind? And then she kicks him out, yeah.
Yeah. They had some weird expectations out of her. So that they were doing some shit like, fuck off. You're a fucking...
Well, they're very unethical is what you find out. So when they eventually get killed, you don't give a fuck because you're like, they're kind of fucking shady.
So Judy Greer is introduced as Karen. Huh.
Wrong name for a character like that.
Daughter.
Really.
Well, it's just because Karen's so negatively associated these days, you just don't want that name anymore.
Yeah.
But her daughter, that's her
Allison.
daughter, and her daughter is named as Allison. She has her friends Vicky and Dave she's chilling with. And her boyfriend Cameron, who's he's kind of a douche. And his friend Oscar's a douche. This is where Allison, they recreate some of those, recreate a lot of shit from Halloween 1978 and reference it, which some of it's okay, some of it's bad. I like this one because it's Allison in school and she looks outside and sees Laurie standing out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then she goes out there and talks to her. She gives her the $3,000 and is like, yeah, go on a trip or something. I don't fucking care.
Yeah, she's like, use it for college tuition. And she's like, I'll use it for school. And she's like, fuck college. Go to Mexico or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it works pretty well. And then we're also finding out immediately that Karen is lying to Allison, which is a reoccurring theme throughout this entire movie.
Yeah.
So.
And Loomis is on tape recommending killing Michael.
Mm-hmm. Terminating him, yeah.
And he's like, fucking just end that motherfucker, dude. I'm over it.
It's pure evil, yeah, fuck it.
So you get the bus transfer.
But
while Laurie's drinking. What are you trying to go?
Oh, I was just going to say the line that Allison says to Laurie after she gets that money. She's like, say goodbye to Michael or get over it. Like, the granddaughter's even giving her a hard time. I'm like, come on, fuck off with this shit.
Yeah.
And, like, that's her only personal relationship. Like, you realize that Laurie's only ongoing relationship that she strives for is with Allison now because she realizes Karen's kind of her own entity at this point.
Yeah. So that's where you get the bus transfer, and it's also cutting back between the bus transfer and Laurie, like, drinking in the parking lot and having an emotional fucking disaster, basically, because you find out later she's basically started drinking again. That's what this is.
Yes.
Probably because of Michael's transfer and the anniversary and the stress of the podcasters drudging shit up with her.
Yeah, it's right by the anniversary. Yeah, she's stressed out. It makes sense why her character is where she's at.
So she shows up to dinner where
she wasn't invited.
Allison is introducing Cameron to her parents so she can, like, you know, go to homecoming or some shit with them, whatever the fucking dance they are doing.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Halloween dance, I guess. Homecoming, I say. It's pretty fucking obvious. It's in the title, dude.
Yeah. What holiday's going on right now?
I don't know what they're dancing about.
They sure like that color orange, though.
They sure do like to dress in costumes.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes. what am I trying to read here?
They announce their costume like, oh, we're going as Bonnie and Clyde with a twist. And then the dad's kind of like, I like it. The dad in this movie's pretty good, too. I like him because he's trying to be, like, reasonable and balanced, like, between Lori and Karen shit, and he's not trying to be a dick.
Yeah, he's not too much of a dick. He's a little bit of a dick at one point, but it's not that bad. I mean, it's reasonable and understandable. But, you know, he dies. Fuck him. Hey, I haven't burped on the podcast in a while.
Oh, and then I said, Karen lies again before Lori arrives. And then Lori arrives and starts chugging that fucking wine because, like, that stress is just fucking pouring out of her.
Yep.
Just everywhere. She's just over it.
Oh, so then you cut to the kid and the father in the truck, and the kid is just talking about, like, I don't want to go hunting and fishing. You know, like, I like spending time with you, Dad, and all, and we can still do that. But, like, really what I want to do is dance.
Yeah, he's like,
It's fucking hilarious because of... It's like, it's a great scene because it's so, like, modern, you know? It's very modern in that, and it's writing and stuff. It's funny just because it's, like, the kid is so confident in it. He's, like, just confident in telling his dad and being like, listen, this is what I want to do, you know? And
he's
I
all
want to
like,
dance, and I'm cool with that, so you should be cool with
like,
it, too.
I'm missing dances. Like, why is that so important? He's like, because I love doing it. I'll still go hunting with you and fishing with you on the weekends, but I want to do his class. Yeah, and it's a pretty good dialogue scene to introduce two characters that are pretty much disposable, right?
Because it gets
Because
right to the core of some shit. It's, like, emotional and funny with 30 seconds of quick dialogue, and then you can start murdering these people.
Yeah.
But here's where they recreate another scene where their car pulls up and you see a bunch of people wandering.
Yep.
Yet another time. People just wandering around.
Yeah, all the other people on the transfer bus.
I think this is why they just decided to try to call it Halloween.
Yeah.
But at the same time, man, you should have just fucking gave it a subtitle. There's no...
Yeah, the reason the same titles is getting a little tired. It's like, just fucking give it a subtitle or fucking throw a number on it. I don't give a fuck.
Halloween 2.5.
Halloween 2018. Like, fucking put 2018 in the goddamn title if you need to.
They did on the fucking DVD.
Well, you have to, because otherwise you don't know which one you're fucking buying.
Right?
The sheriff, though, when he sees the kid, or I don't know if he's the sheriff or just the guard that was on the bus, he's like, fucking run, kid.
Yeah, that's the guard. I think the guard, like the bus driver, maybe.
And you show that the dad and the kid's comfortable using a gun, so, like, he gets out of that, so that expose sets up, like, what he's doing. So he's clearly well-versed in weapons.
Yeah.
Able to take care of himself, but then that kid goes and gets in the truck and fucking dies.
Well, he fucking shoots what's-his-face first, too.
Oh, yeah.
The doctor is hilarious.
Sartain. Yeah, Dr. Sartain.
Fucking rules. I'm like, yeah, he kind of deserves to get shot.
Yeah, he does.
The
Later
sheriff
on.
playing pinball. Mm-hmm. That shit's funny.
Yeah, that's a good little scene.
And he gets the report and he goes out there and finds the bus. And you later find out through dialogue that he's like, he was there that night. I was the first one that responded and arrested Michael.
Yeah, and that's pretty interesting. I like that concept because you don't see that in the first movie. Obviously, you don't need it, but it's still cool that they kind of threw something in there to tie it back to that, so it's not just Lori.
Yeah. The podcasters go to Judith's grave, again recreating a scene from the first one.
Then you start getting some of the stalking scenes, which the first movie does so well. I feel like this was missing some of that because when Lori's hovering, it doesn't feel like she's stalking. Like, you don't get that vibe.
Yeah.
So I think that's the only misstep in this one as far as some of that.
This is where you're getting more garage vibes. Mm-hmm. Mechanics and shit. They're at the garage. They're
It's like a mechanic garage gas station.
yeah,
like
like
one of those
what you'd
hybrid
see on the
ones.
side of a highway in a more like rural areas. Michael fucking kills the shit out of Dana while he's trying to kill her. He attacks her, let's say. Aaron comes in and gets his fucking ass killed, and then he just fucking like chokes her out basically.
The crazy thing, though, that's so fucking terrifying is, and like just to set you up with like what kind of a crazy person Michael is when he's after Dana and he's fucking taunting her, he has the teeth of the gas station attendant's mouth that he just fucking drops over the stall door, and they fucking drop everywhere, and like you can see the long tooth. So like he literally fucking tortured this person by ripping his teeth out.
Yeah.
And just to come there and fuck with you. So I thought that was pretty terrifying the first time I saw it, and when I rewatched it, like that scene holds up because that really helps amp that attack scene up to the next level.
And
And then he goes and gets. I like how you see him go get the fucking mask out of the trunk. I
Yeah.
think that's so key. He's like, "Yeah, fuck you. That's mine."
Yeah, basically, he's like, "Oh, thanks for that."
And then Lori gets to see the news of the bus accident.
Yeah, and she's preparing some shit under her kitchen island bunker.
Yeah, which is pretty badass when you think about it. Like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'd make a masturbatorium down there. Just have
Yeah.
tissues and lotion and porno everywhere, or a sex dungeon, but not like a R. Kelly sex dungeon, like a.
Consenting two adults having fun, or more than two adults.
I was about to say
whatever.
not just two adults. What are you
Oh, yes,
thinking?
yeah. What's the
None of
point
that
of having
vanilla
one?
shit here. Unless there's 5 people, I'm not even whipping my dick out. Just kidding. I'll whip it out for free. I'll whip it out right now.
Please don't.
Turn off the podcast.
We really are related, and I don't want to see your dog.
Get out. It's between me and the podcast family, the listeners.
No, it's not. You're sick.
Oh, Jesus.
And then you see Karen go into her house, and fucking Lori comes out pointing a gun at her, and she's like, "What the fuck are you doing in here? You scared me to death." She's like, "You're dead." Just being a trifling bitch to her own daughter.
Yeah,
She's like really being a cunt there, so.
but she is Karen.
Yep.
And then it's basically the sheriff finds the bodies, or he's out there, and doing their little police investigation about the bodies. And we transition to Halloween night.
Mm-hmm.
Which this is where you have a scene that is cut into. It's 2 long takes, basically.
Yes.
And these long takes are fucking great. The first time I watched it, I don't even think I distinguished them as 2 because they did it so well. But it's definitely 2. The first thing you see is like a bunch of kids and stuff, and the camera's like sort of moving around, showing the kids in the street trick or treating, Halloween night.
Mm-hmm.
And then it kind of stops at this house, and a kid bumps into Michael.
Yeah.
Another scene from the first movie where the kid
Yes.
bumps into Michael.
Just like the bully. Yes.
And then he just walks away or whatever. And then you get a long take of him walking around the house. He goes into the backyard. There's a tool shed. Picks up the fucking hammer. And that's where the first cut is. Mm-hmm. Where it goes to inside, and you see him walking from the shed up into the house. And you see this woman, like, when you see that, the camera then just pans over to the left or whatever. Or I don't know what you call that. It's not panning, I don't know, fucking, there's a bunch of different camera terms, the right ones. Either way, the camera goes left. You see you see the woman walk into the kitchen, and then it turns back, and you see Michael coming in, walking into the kitchen as well. And then you just hear, like, her screaming, her shocked reaction, and then being bludgeoned to death. Mm-hmm. Him walking over to the counter, setting down the hammer, and picking up a kitchen knife, which, it just fucking rules. I've seen all that kind of interesting shit. He walks through the house, and then he comes across the baby, and he just kind of looks down at it for a moment, registers it, and then just moves along.
Yeah, which is an interesting choice, right? Because you see, we saw him kill the child earlier, but the other kids that like run into him, he doesn't mess with. So it's kind of that one death is the only one that feels a little bit out of place. Like he could have just thrown that kid out of the car and not killed him since it was a child.
Which one?
The kid that was hunting.
Oh.
Since that was a child, the other children he bumps into, he kind of leaves alone, right?
I think it's, well, they were in the streets too. It's like, it's interesting. I don't know if the baby just doesn't register as a full human to him or something, or it's like, something about that, but, or it's actually innocent, if there's anything other than just fuck it. Or maybe he's thinking, oh, it'll die anyway because I just killed that lady.
Yeah.
There's lots of possibilities there. He's back out front, and he walks up and around to another house.
Yes.
This
house.
And you see his face in the reflection of the mirror. All I can think of is, my God, this has to be one of the craziest setups for, like, the gaffers and grips. Like, just to be able to get the right shots for all this and have the lighting, everything the way it should be for all these long takes without having anything in frame, because it has to all be out of certain frames.
Everything has to be out of the way.
My God, it's impressive. When you see his reflection in the glass, and then he goes around back, and you see him walking through the windows, through 2 sets of windows, and this woman comes to the front, and she's like looking outside, and you see him walk up behind her, and just fucking grabs her by the head and he just fucking murders the shit out of her.
Yeah.
Stabs her through the neck, I think. Is that what happens?
I think that one's a stab in the neck, yeah.
Then you go over to the school dance. Allison gets a call from Vicky, who's babysitting Julian, who is a great child actor.
Julian is fucking amazing. I'm going to tell you right now, that kid is fucking hilarious.
I haven't looked him up, but I bet he's got fucking roles for days.
He is so funny, and he's got natural comedic timing, and it doesn't feel like he's acting at all. Like the one thing they're talking about.
No, he feels like just a fucking sassy ass kid. It's hilarious.
Yeah,
it works.
exactly. And, they talk about what pot is basically on the phone. He's like, yeah, she's like, I got pot over. He's like, I know you're talking about pot.
No, well, it's not exactly. I mean, yeah.
It's
What are they?
essentially.
Yeah.
I know she uses.
Well, she's babies. Yeah, waiting for Dave. Mm-hmm. No, and she calls it Alakazam. That's what it was.
Yeah. He's like, I know what you're talking
He
about.
says, I know what you're doing. You're gonna invite your friends over and you're gonna smoke weed. And she's like, no, we're not. And he's like, yeah, you are. I'm gonna tell my mom. And she's like, well, I'm gonna tell him
About your browsing history.
yeah.
And she's like, see, we could both get each other in trouble.
Yeah.
And then she's fucking with him too. Like that dialogue. Their whole exchange between Vicky and Julian is amazing. Like
Vicky and Julian are better characters than Allison and Judy.
Yes.
Not Judy. Karen. I was saying Judy Greer.
Yeah.
Like
No, their chemistry was way better and funnier, and like that felt really true to the original. And,
replace
just the funny.
more scenes of Allison. Allison's not that bad. Really, just Karen. Replace all of Karen with Vicky and Julian.
Yes. And then
Yeah, Allison sees Cameron kiss another girl, and then he's drinking and he's being in general a dick. Mm-hmm. And I just wrote down, I want to watch Cameron die. But we didn't watch Cameron die, did we?
not that I recall. No. Hopefully in this next one.
I think so.
I'm hoping.
Yeah. He fucking takes her phone when she's getting called and dumps it in pudding. And then he realizes that he's being a cock goblin. Mm-hmm. But
He
it's too
takes his
late.
heels off because, you know, it's the Bonnie and Clyde gender reverse, which is
Yeah.
a good costume idea, right? That's fun.
I would call it a good one, but you know.
Well, in the context of the movie, it's funny because you got to see him take his heels off after he's being a fucking skeet towel.
Yeah, no, it's just nobody gives a fuck about Bonnie and Clyde.
No, it's outdated. I get that.
So Dave shows up with Vicky, and Dave, you like almost feel like earlier you haven't had enough Dave yet, because at first you're like, Dave's kind of cool, he's a normal seeming dude, but then he just starts to be cringy as fuck once he shows up here. He's like, look at my tattoo, and she's like, oh, I'm so gonna like fucking dry fuck you, I think she says.
Yeah, she's like, I'm gonna.
She should have just said she was gonna fuck him,
No, I think she says dry fuck him. Yeah.
because they're dry humping in the next scene.
Yeah.
I'm like, better than nothing, I guess. Especially
know.
when you're a teenager, that shit can seem like fucking, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
better than anything else that's happened to you in life before. So, and she's pretty hot. So,
And then Julian comes down, which is hilarious because he's like, "There's a fucked up thing watching me outside my door."
yeah, he's hilarious.
His delivery is so fucking on point. He's probably my favorite actor in the entire fucking movie.
yeah. And he genuinely tries her not, like, she's like, all right, I'll go check. And he's like, no, like, I'm fucking serious. Don't go up there. And he like tries to physically stop her.
Yeah, and he's like, "Dave, you go up there."
Yeah.
He's trying to send Dave up there too, and she's like, "I'm not scared. I'll show you. There's nothing scary." That's a really good exchange. Like that whole dialogue shows the rapport they have.
She fakes finding someone up there and everything, and then has him go back to bed or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Then they have that cute little exchange where she's like, "You're my favorite kid. You're my favorite kid I babysit for. Hey, can you close the closet door?" Sure. Fucking closet door won't close because there's boots in the way. And that's a real fucking good scene right there. I like that one. That Michael reveal.
Yeah, before that, though, you're kind of going outside and seeing Dave, like, smoking, and then seeing that there's a
fucking around
motorcycle
on
out
the
there.
motorcycle that he knocks over.
Yeah. And then that's just an excuse for him not to be there right when she gets fucked up. Mm-hmm. Because Michael obviously comes out of the fucking closet. I want the world to know. Mm-hmm. A rainbow Michael Myers mask. Because he came out of the closet.
Stabs her. Looks like the first time's in the hand or on the arm.
Yeah. And she
Right.
basically sacrifices herself so Julian can live. She's like,
Yeah, she does.
This is what's happening.
That's the
Like,
kind of person.
that's your fucking babysitter.
That's the fucking quality person you want watching your
You
child.
hired the right babysitter.
Yeah.
And you don't even have to pay her.
Jesus Christ. That's dark. I didn't think of that.
It's fucked up.
You just
but
gotta
like,
clean her blood up off your house.
that was a good investment. Really paid off. Our kid's still alive. We got a naked teenage corpse. Teenage corpse in the house.
Oh, you
We'll
do.
be naked in a little bit here, potentially, honey.
You're sick, Mom. You know, that's just sick.
This is just the movie I would have written. That would be
I know,
the husband's
I know.
lines.
We got sidetracked with that, yeah.
So then, you don't get to see Dave die, I don't think. He just dies off screen, doesn't he?
Yeah, so Dave comes in when Vicky is yelling, right? And Julian's on his way out. And Julian's like, don't fucking go up there.
You're
He
going
even
to fucking
tells
I think
him.
he says, you're going to fucking die if you go up there, Dave.
Yeah. He does. That kid is so fucking amazing. He's like the best part of this whole fucking movie.
Agreed. Give
I
him
mean-
more roles.
I mean, you give this fucking kid a sitcom, man. This kid's ready.
Yes. Then you see the kids with the Halloween 3 masks outside.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was a good little nod there.
Allison hanging out with Oscar, and Oscar being all, oh yeah, I get it. And then he fucking drunkenly tries to kiss her and shit. And she's like, nobody wants to kiss your fish-looking ass. You look like a fucking rotted fish. Like, she doesn't say that, but that's what
Yeah.
I'm thinking.
Yeah, typical, like, you know, nerdy, not as attractive looking dude trying to get on her. Well, you're not together anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, bitch, no.
Lori and the police are at Karen's.
And then Karen's finally starting to get a grasp of fucking reality here.
Yeah.
Like, hey, shits are actually going down. Your mom is crazy, but shit's crazy too.
They're going to Lori's house to kind of hold up and whatnot, and Oscar gets killed. Now, we're kind of flashing back and forth here.
Yeah, there's a
this.
couple things going on.
Oscar gets murdered because fuck Oscar.
Well, Oscar's,
That's a cool scene, though.
I like it how he's sitting out there. He's like, hey, we're just trying to take a shortcut, man. He's drunk and he still has beers on there, and he still like wants to collect his beers and get out of there.
Yeah.
And then his death is great too because his costume gets caught on that wrought iron fence.
He gets-
and as he's trying to climb, and then
Yeah.
he gets fucking leveled. His death is a great one.
And then she kind of sees his corpse and decides to run.
Yeah, she
knows what's
hears him
happening.
screaming, and
She sees Michael through the fence and all that.
yeah, she gets fucking terrified and gets out of there and goes to somebody's house and help me, and then buys her some time.
Oh, yeah. There we go. That's the last of that page.
And then you see Sheriff Barker and Dr. Sartain decide that they're going to send him with Deputy Frank Hawkins. Kind of have him help out with that since he's an expert in the case or whatever, or
Yeah.
an expert on Michael, which obviously changes a little bit.
Yep. And then they go to Lori's basement, and she's
Then-
handing out guns.
Yeah, you get another fucking Terminator 2 vibe scene where
I think of Tremors.
oh, Tremors in the basement. Yeah,
The
Tremors
elephant
vibes for
gun
sure.
or whatever and shit.
Yeah. But they fucking unlock that. She unlocks the guns down there. I do like how she at least had the guns locked up, but that was interesting.
Yeah.
Pulls that thing open and gets ready to go.
Guns are cool in movies. That's it. That's my statement. Oh, they come across Michael in the car, the doctor, the sheriff, and they fucking they have Allison with them, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
They
Allison's
fucking
in the
hit
back.
Michael Myers.
Frank runs him over because Sartain is trying to say, hey, we need him, but he's property of the state. And he's like, fuck that.
Fuck
I'm
your
not-
property. I'm gonna murder this motherfucker.
Yeah, ain't nobody putting up with that bullshit. Fucking decks him. And then
The doctor goes over to him. It's kind of like, don't kill him. And the sheriff's like, get the fuck out of the way. I'm going to shoot this motherfucker in the head.
Yep, and the the deputy gets fucking stabbed by Sartain because he pulls out looks like a fucking scalpel.
Yeah, he fucking kills him.
Yeah, fucking murders him there. And he's like, I want to understand why he wants to kill. And like,
And then he puts the mask on, and you're like, what the fuck am I watching?
yeah,
Because you think he's going to, like, continue to try to wear it for a minute, too. And he drags Michael and puts him in the back seat with Allison, and then takes the mask off and throws it back in there.
yeah. So when I initially watched this, I was like, oh, are they going to say that he's dead and then, Sartain fucking just becomes him and like that kind of a thing? And then that's the only thing in this movie that really kind of pissed me off. I was like, why did we need him to do that?
Yeah, I agree. It's another unnecessary thing in this movie.
You could have trimmed out a good 10 minutes of bullshit in this movie and I would have enjoyed it more, right? And that was one of those things.
Yeah, because then he just puts this teenage girl in danger, and like, what?
Yeah.
This is out of character and weird for someone who's
And
so
he's-
educated in mental health. I don't know.
Yeah, like you're saying that the doctor became crazy by working with crazy people. It doesn't fucking pan out. It's kind of silly.
Michael wakes up.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Puts his mask back on, which is how you know he's awake.
Well, he kills a doctor.
Yep.
Rip.
Which is good, because after that point in time, you're like, well, this guy's fucking useless.
Yeah, Allison runs into the woods because I think she kind of knows where she's at.
Yeah, she knows where she's at, so.
He fucking stomps on the doctor's head. I love that.
Yeah.
Fucking just splashes it. He's like, just talk to me. Say something. He's trying to get him to talk. Ooh, I love that. One of my favorite things in this movie is the dad's outside.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like trying to talk to the cops out there. And he opens it up and he sees their heads in there have been turned into jack-o'-lanterns with flashlights up their necks.
Yeah.
That shit rules. That's a great fucking little...
That scene was awesome.
It felt like I was watching an old Halloween movie. That was like...
Yeah, that's old school horror vibe, right?
Yeah.
It had that vibe of everything classic, but while being modern with other things, so it worked.
Yeah. Then they realize he's like there. So Laurie's like, everybody, go down there and shit. And he ends up coming to the door and fucking just pulling in her head and bashing it into the door for a while. And you're like, God damn, how old is she? I'm like, this is fucking brutal to watch.
Yeah.
Because I'm imagining like fucking, if you tried to do that to like mom or something. Because she has like, similar vibes.
Yeah, and then
It's
obviously
like,
Michael Myers is a fucking senior in this. It's like senior citizen Michael Myers, so he's still crazy. So
Seniors versus seniors.
exactly.
Some strong senior citizens. Fucking AARP pays off.
Yeah. The battle of the wits. The A.
I'm going to play bingo after this, bitch.
Yeah.
With your blood on my hands.
Yeah. Now, that's a good scene, though. But, I mean, obviously, realistically, as easy as other people died from strangulation and head trauma, you overplay that because she should have fucking been
She
out.
blows a finger or two of his off with a gun, too.
Yeah.
Like, you can't tell exactly, but, like, that's permanent fucking damage.
And that house setup she has is fucking nuts. Like, you see the security lights she has around the perimeter, like the gate she has around the property. So it's like, all this is... Yeah, it's wild.
He kind of, takes her out for a minute and then goes and tries to start ripping the fucking kitchen island off because he figures out where they're at. Mm-hmm. And they end up, like, the whole thing there with Karen fake crying and shit is like, yeah, that's Karen, all right.
Yeah.
Being all emotionally distraught, but not actually. And then using it to shoot him and stuff. And that's where you see the whole Laurie Strode emerging in the shadow thing, and you're like, oh, come the fuck on. At this point, it's a little too much.
Yeah. It's very much like that whole Batman line, like, you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become a villain, right? I mean, that's essentially
Well,
what
that's
they
why
did
I
with
was
her.
joking about that earlier, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they have to. I mean, that's exactly what that is. But then you see, I mean, this is the part in time where Karen's like the least trifling piece of shit because you see that she actually did learn from her mom and she's actually useful instead of just
She's
being...
the John Connor of this movie.
God, I hate to describe it that way. Disappointing. I hate you for that. Fuck you. Don't tell me that.
And then they figure out, oh, it's a basement's a trap. It's a trap. It's a trap.
Yeah. I built that as a place to trap him. No
and then it's
shit.
kind of like, and burn your own house down. How smart.
Yeah. Like, you're not going to get the insurance money on that. Like, in...
There's way too much evidence against you. They're like, you burned your own house down. Fuck off.
And
With a man inside?
And you burned all the guns down that you had in your basement? Like, was there ammunition not fucking go? The whole...
Yeah. So, then they kind of escape. Go outside and they hitch a ride or whatever. What do they fucking do?
I think they get picked up or something to get out of there.
And it's just like end credits. And you're like, all right, cool. So, Halloween Kills will be coming out soon. Friday, in fact.
Yeah, drops this week.
We will be hopefully seeing that shortly and doing a review next week with spoilers. So, just FYI.
We'll let you know what we think. So
Yeah, I think the trailer looks pretty decent, and this one's decent enough. I don't, hate it or anything. There's definitely things to critique, but if you like horror, any horror sequel has shit to critique. critique. Can't talk.
Yeah, and the fact that they're already trying to make a trilogy out of this, like they came with the intent to do that. So
Yeah, that's the kind of weird thing because you're like, so I know Michael Myers is not dead at the end of this movie.
yeah,
Which, I mean, it's Michael Myers, so he's never really dead anyway because it's a fucking film character. But come on. It's just weird things. They gotta... The only way to do something unexpected would be to have Laurie not die at all in any of these movies. Because if you kill her in either one of these movies, I'm expecting it. I'm waiting for it because they've done it already. But that's Halloween 2018. So
yeah.
let us know what you think.
Julian's the best fucking character in there by far, just because he's hilarious, he's fucking timely, he's great.
Agreed.
Really, I almost wish they would have done a fucking remake where the girl that played Vicky would have been the Laurie Strode and he would have been the Tommy, just because like the fucking chemistry they had is amazing.
Yeah.
And like you're like, oh fuck, you could do something like that where you really play up the people part of it instead of the horror element. It would have been great, but we got what we got. So we got 2 more of these to look forward to.
Yep.
And actually, just a little bit ago, while we're recording this, or right before we recorded this, I saw a note that the final film in the in this trilogy has been written, the draft's been turned in, and the writer-director is waiting for notes from Mr. John Carpenter
It's supposed to
himself.
come out in a year.
Yeah, so they're supposed to get right to it, yeah. We'll see. This did get delayed. I mean, this is supposed to
Well,
be out
yeah,
last year, so
exactly. I think it's been pretty much done.
yeah. So
It wasn't expected to be.
all right, well, like and subscribe below. Find us online wherever you listen to podcasts, and keep watching on YouTube.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to the Frog Brothers Podcast. We'd greatly appreciate it if you could like and subscribe if you're listening on YouTube. And if you're listening on the audio feed on Spotify or Apple or Twitcher or wherever you listen, tell your friends and make sure to subscribe to our YouTube at youtube.com/thefrogbros. Hit us up on Instagram at Frog Bros Podcast, on Twitter at bros_frog, on TikTok at Frog Bros Podcast, and follow us on Facebook. Join our Facebook group Frog Bros Video by searching just that, Frog Bros Video. Hit request to join and you'll be approved. We have shirts available. The link is in our Instagram bio and below in the description. And you can find stickers on Etsy at Frog Bros, all one word. Additionally, if you'd like to give us a call and leave a voicemail soon, our Patreon will be live and we'll be posting monthly responses and reactions to the voicemails. Dial 816-832-5388.